How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its Essential Pick sale, and I want to highlight the deals under the price of $20 in this video. When we go under $20, it actually increases the budget to an extent that I cover some other games than I cover ad nauseum. There's still obviously repeats, and I'm sure I've mentioned all of these games at some points, but not as much as some of the other videos. But nonetheless, let's get right into it. A lot of great deals, so let's get started with a game that whenever I do talk about it, I try to talk it up because I think it's a super underrated game, and that is Ruined King, a League of Legends story. 40% off for $17.99. Now, think what you want of League of Legends. Trust me, I had my League of Legends phase in high school. I was as toxic as they come. I was told very mean things, and I said some very mean things. Those days are behind me, and I don't really play League anymore, but I have a lot of affinity and a lot of care for the characters, the world. I think, you know, some of the character design in League is awesome. Some of the backstories are great, and some of the characters are just super cool. And I like what Riot is doing with these Riot Forge titles, these games that expand the League of Legends universe, but tell their stories in different ways outside of being a MOBA. Obviously, you've got stuff like the Arcane Netflix series, but from a narrative RPG standpoint, you're looking at Ruined King, a League of Legends story, being a really solid game. Done by Airship Syndicate, the same people that brought you like Darksiders Genesis, Ruined King turned out to be a really well done game, centering around some of the more iconic League characters. You've got Yasuo in there, you've got Misfortune, Ari's in there, Pyke is in there, just some really cool characters, and then you have, and then that's the party, and you have Braum in there as well, Alawi of course, and you have other characters obviously on the opposing side of things, and it's a really cool game that expands the League of Legends world. Even if you're not into League, you'll still find enjoyment out of the game from the well-done combat system, and the story's fairly good as well. $18 might be a little bit pricey, but given that this is a fairly lengthy game, I think it's worthwhile, and I would definitely give it a shout. Definitely do check that out. Next up, we got Stray, 34% off for $19.79. Really ended up enjoying Stray. Now, a lot of you guys probably played this game like 2 years ago when it initially came out, and it was a day one PlayStation Plus Extra title. Since then, it has been pulled from PS Plus Extra, and as a game, it still really does hold up in price. Again, it's almost 2 years old at this point. But still, damn near $20, and it came out at $30, so you're getting a 34% off discount. The game's an incredibly atmospheric exploration game. It's not combat heavy or anything like that, and it's a little bit on the shorter side, but if you have a lot of big RPGs and a lot of 40-plus hour games that you're gonna play through, Stray offers something that's on the polar opposite side of the things as far as game length goes, and I think sometimes that's exactly what you need. From an ambiance standpoint, visual standpoint, it's quite good. $19.79 I think is a pretty good price, so definitely would give that a shout. Speaking of lengthy RPGs, One Piece Odyssey definitely fits that bill. 67% off for $19.79. Some $20 for One Piece Odyssey I think is pretty damn good. I don't have a lot of care for One Piece as an IP, but this is a game that I ended up really enjoying. Much like how some of you guys, if you're not a League of Legends fan, you'll probably still enjoy Ruined King. Exactly the same with me when it came to One Piece Odyssey. One Piece Odyssey was a really well-made turn-based JRPG. And obviously, if you're a One Piece fan, you'll like the game even more, given that a big aspect of the game is going back to some of the iconic One Piece sections and revisiting those locales, although they're done a little bit differently, so on and so forth. For somebody like me that isn't going to sit through 1,000+ episodes of One Piece, okay, maybe that element didn't resonate as much with me, but I can still appreciate this game from the quality storytelling, from the well-made turn-based combat system, and quality visuals as well. For some $20, I think this is a great deal, relatively lengthy as well. Obviously, it's your typical JRPG, so expect that level of length as well. And for this price point, if you just want a good JRPG, I think a lot of you guys will end up enjoying it, even if you're not the biggest One Piece fan. Next up, a game that PlayStation fans seem to absolutely love, clamoring for a sequel. Don't think that a sequel will ever come. We have Days Gone, 60% off for $15.99. Now, this game runs really well on the PlayStation 5. I imagine nobody watching our videos is still rocking a PS4, or their main platform is a PS4. At least I imagine that to be the case, but Days Gone is a damn good game when you take out the technical limitations and the performance issues. Does it still have its issues? Absolutely. The second half, not the second half, rather the latter portion of the game, like the actual tail end of the game, a little bit too lengthy, and Days Gone is one of those games that it really would have done the game a lot of good if you shaved some of the stuff off. When you play the game, I think you guys will get what I'm saying, but it's still a well-done open-world game, and the gameplay is super enjoyable. Story's pretty good, $15.99, a good buy there. Again, we'll never get a sequel, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but what can you do? That sometimes happens in gaming. Games don't resonate at that level. There's another little game that I recommend all the time, The Order 1886. We're never getting a sequel for that either, so again, these things happen in gaming, as I like to say. Next up, we have Disco Elysium, the final cut, 70% off for $11.99. Now, I loved Disco Elysium. Obviously, when you talk about this game, you gotta talk about some of the nonsense that happened with the developers of this game and the publisher. Yeah, like, what do you want me to say about that? You can look into it for yourself. There's a lot of layers to that story, and the developers got done dirty, let's just put it that way. But the game itself is still absolutely fantastic, and from a narrative-driven title, it is tremendous. If you like your story-based games, you will love Disco Elysium. Now, the story, the pacing of the game, it is a little bit more methodical. It is a little bit slower paced. I recommended this game to a friend, and I should have known better because this dude loves his action-heavy games, his big-budget titles. He would have never liked a game like Disco Elysium, but for some reason, I was just really into recommending this game at the time, and I recommended it to him, and he absolutely hated the game, but it was just a game not for him, and you have to understand what you're getting yourself into when you play Disco Elysium. It's not a fast-paced, action-heavy game. It doesn't tell its story really quickly, and you do have to give it some time for it to flesh out the aspects of the game, but it's a super mature story, and the writing is really some of the best that you're gonna see out of a video game. I thought it was tremendous. $11.99 is a great price in my opinion, and it is available on PS Plus Extra, so you can play it that way as well. Next up, we have Judgment, 65% off for $13.99. This is for the PS5 version. The PS4 version is a little bit cheaper at $10.49. I would obviously recommend for those of you with a PS5, get the PS5 version. There's no upgrade path or anything like that, unfortunately. Judgment is available on Plus Extra, however. Judgment is a fantastic game, and really, I kind of go against the popular opinion of most people saying Yakuza 0 should be your first RGG title. I actually think Judgment should be your first RGG game. The issue with Yakuza 0 is it's a fine starting point for the Yakuza franchise, but you're embarking on a narrative that goes through 7 games, Yakuza 0 and Yakuza 1 through 6. That's a daunting undertaking. And yes, Yakuza 0, you can appreciate it as its self-contained story, but also, Yakuza 0 is a little bit dated from a gameplay standpoint, and it doesn't have English voice acting. I get it. For some of you guys, the idea of English voice acting with the RGG games is blasphemy, but some people want that, and with Judgment, the English voice acting is awesome. It is what it is. With Kiryu from Infinite Wealth, the voice acting for him, I don't know, I just didn't vibe with it that much, and I played Infinite Wealth entirely subbed, but Judgment, I thought, had a killer voice acting crew. I thought the English voice acting was great in this game, and some of you guys still want to play it subbed, and if you want to play it subbed, more power to you, but for some people, they're going to want the English voice acting. The visuals are much better given that this is a ground-up PS4 made game instead of Yakuza 0, which was actually a PS3, PS4 cross-gen title. A lot of people don't know that since Yakuza 0 came out as a PS4 only title here stateside, but it was cross-gen in Japan where it initially came out. Judgment, better from a visual standpoint, better from a quality of life standpoint. Story is fantastic in Judgment, can't say enough good things about that. And with Judgment, you do have a follow-up title in Lost Judgment, but Judgment as well tells a completely self-contained story that you can enjoy start to finish. And Lost Judgment is really good as well, but obviously play the first game. Hopefully we do get a Judgment 3, and maybe that'll be RGG's next game with Infinite Wealth out of the way, so that'll be something to look forward to. But nonetheless, $14 for Judgment I think is a great price. Certainly would recommend that. Next up, we have SIGNALIS, 30% off for $14. A game that goes a little bit under the radar, and it is still holding up in price. I mean, it came out back in October of 22, so it's still a relatively recent release, but a really, really atmospheric and well-done throwback horror game. A lot of mystery, narratively, tells a pretty cool, engaging survival horror story, and super psychological as well. For $14, if you're into horror experiences, this is one that you should absolutely play, and I think you'll end up enjoying quite a bit. Published by Humble, who low-key publish a lot of really quality titles, and as far as Humble titles go, probably one of the best they've ever put out. So 14 bucks for that, still pricey, but I think well worth it. Next up, Soul Hackers 2, 70% off for $17.99. For JRPG fans, I think Soul Hackers 2 is a damn good game. Does it have its shortcomings? Sure. sure, I think some of the dungeon design leaves a lot to be desired, but I think overall the positives do outweigh the negatives. I think it's got a great cast of characters. I think the main character, Ringo, is awesome. Soundtrack is great. Look up the boss battle theme. The boss battle theme is tremendous and probably will sell you on the game. And just a pretty well done JRPG. It's not going to be the biggest budget JRPG you'll ever see, but, you know, for 18 bucks, a pretty good one. And overall, an enjoyable experience start to finish. A lot of mystery in the story, a lot of twists and turns. Enjoyed it for what it was. Next up, we got Odin Leifthrasir, 75% off for $14.99. You guys know me. I talk up Vanillaware all the time. And Vanillaware really popped off with Odin back on the PlayStation 2, and this was a redone version, an upgraded release of Odin. Still a damn good action RPG, and Vanillaware crushes it. From a gameplay standpoint, they're usually pretty damn good, although 13 Sentinels had my issues with it from a combat standpoint, but Odin was damn good, and that art style still ages so gracefully. Even with this being a, you know, an upgraded version that came out in like 2016, 2017, we're still, you know, 7-8 years removed from this release, and what, 20 years removed from the initial, or like close to 20 years removed from the initial release. For $15, it's great. It is available on Plus Extra. As is, I believe, 13 Sentinels. Yeah, 13 Sentinels is on Plus Extra as well. And, of course, Unicorn Overlord just came out. Enjoyed that game. Pretty good story with that, but maybe wait for it to get a little bit cheaper. But if you're into your JRPGs, it's well worth it. So, yeah, check it out if you do want. Lastly, Kenna Bridge of Spirits, 60% off for $15.99. This was a PlayStation 5 launch title, also available on the PlayStation 4. A little bit on the shorter side, but the visuals to this game is fantastic. Art direction is great. Combat and gameplay, I wouldn't say is blow away, but it's fine from a fundamental standpoint. Story is pretty decent as well. You know, if you want a more digestible, shorter experience to get into, I think Kenna's a pretty decent one, and for $15.99, not a bad pickup, also available on Plus Extra. But that is gonna do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals across the board on the PlayStation Store right now. These are deals under 20. Links to all of these in the description box down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.